Welcome to the Network Build Grow podcast, the show where business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals share their stories, lessons learned, and powerful strategies for building relationships and growing their circle of influence. With Melissa Taylor, your host, each week we'll bring you actionable insights to help you build a better network and a better business. Let's dive in.
Good morning, Mr. Sage Harper. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Happy to be here. Doing well. Thank you.
Great. So before we get started, tell me a little bit about Apollo Marketing and kind of what was the inspiration behind starting that business?
Yeah, it was kind of a fun story. It was my kids of all things. I'm a stepfather to three kids, and I found myself having to pay for college, and we just weren't making enough revenue, and so I needed something that I could do on the side, and not knowing that it would end up becoming the full-time thing. And so I did a lot of research into a number of different businesses, and I even tried direct sales for a little bit, and that was abysmal. And I stumbled into marketing, and marketing is so broad. When I first went into marketing, the things that really kind of fascinated me were the things that no one else wanted to do. It was kind of the nerd stuff. And so I kind of started to grab into lead generation, or specifically SEO and pay-per-click. Both of those are difficult to achieve and take time to be good at it. And so I figured of the whole marketing realm, it's something that I can concentrate in on and hone my skills to. And then I was able to make a little bit extra money to help pay for my kids' college, and it just started growing from there.
Three kids' college. Let's be clear. There's three.
Yeah, let's be real. Yeah, we're on our last semester of the last one right now, so we're like this close.
Yeah,
this close. We have graduation coming up here very soon. I'm very grateful for that. And the youngest has done awesome too.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was about the family. Even the name Apollo Marketing, or which is Apollo LLC at first. I married into a Greek family, and it's funny is my wife is not Greek. My wife is actually Polish, but my kids are Greek from their biological father. And my son was huge into Percy Jackson. And when you look at the whole Apollo chariot going across the sky, helping pull the sun across the sky, I was like, okay, that's cool. I can help businesses achieve their goals. And so it was kind of just natural. And then it was the sun as well. And my wife loves the beach. She's a sun worshiper too. So there's like a lot of synergy in there. I was like, oh, this kind of just makes sense. So the name was born, the mission was born, what we're doing was there. And then I grew over time and then shrunk due to COVID, like a lot of us. And then you iterate as you go. And so we're not the same thing what we were when we started, but we're still doing nerd stuff in marketing.
Doing nerd stuff. I love it. And then of course the iteration now is AI, because if you're an SEO, AI has kind of changed that. What do they call it? Like you have SEO now and you also have AIO or something.
Yeah, AIO. Yeah. AIO is what you hear a lot of. That's, I guess, the prominent acronym for AI integration into the search world.
Yeah, because it's become a search engine.
It has.
Yeah.
With it doesn't replace search, and so for people to be able to do brainstorming and sort of pull up information is great. But when it comes to finding local relevancy with those social signals that really say, hey, this is a good business that has a good history of good past performance, AI, I don't know if it'll ever meet that mark or do that job. So it does do a lot to help us uncover information, which is great because if you do have a small business locally that's putting out really good content and helpful content for those people in the area, AI can actually see those things. So you can actually have a local mom and pop sort of help still without having to go to the website, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is great. Okay, so your journey started in what year? What year did you start this Apollo marketing journey?
This is our 11th year.
Okay, 11 years. So in 11 years, kind of looking
crazy.
back,
Oh my God.
I know it's crazy, right? But looking back at those 11 years, like what is maybe something that stands out that is just like a lesson learned? that you can
Oh,
share with us?
totally. My biggest lesson learned in business has always been know yourself first and know what you want to do to light yourself up. Um, I came out of government contracting. I came out of
Mhm,
satellite communications and government contracting.
mhm,
Um, I did that in the army first, and then as a contractor, and then like for a very long period of time, I ended up becoming into program management. I was a country manager for a while. I like country manager sounds kind of cool, but it's just two projects in the country or something. Like, in the reality of all of those things, like if you had asked me, like, what do you like about your job? I like troubleshooting. I like putting out fires. But when you get into a certain point of management, I wasn't even doing any of that stuff anymore. I wasn't even touching equipment.
yeah,
Um, and then when I started my own company, I'm like, okay, what can I do remote that allows access? It was a gateway or something that allowed some agency within myself. But just because I was adding some agency or adding the ability to make additional funds, does that mean it's something that really lights me up either?
mhm,
I'd say over everything in business, I'd say um, no matter what you want to do, ensure that it's something that lights you up and is sustainable for yourself. Because if it becomes a chore, you're going to get mad at your money and you're just going to be like, oh God, oh man, I just don't want to be doing this anymore. And it can be very, very frustrating. You can find that cognitive dissonance in yourself. And you're just like, I'm just grumpy at work and I don't know why. Or you feel like I need to forklift my whole business and change the whole thing. And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes
yeah,
that's right.
mhm,
I'd say over all those things, the moment we feel uncomfortable with our business, I'd say sit in it and figure out what's going on. And I think that would help a lot of us free up some of the garbage that's going on up here and into here so we can serve better, so we can be better for our clients, for our networks, for those people around us. Because if we're not in a good place for whatever reason, it's going to come off in our business.
oh, absolutely 100%. Everybody that we touch, from our families to
Absolutely.
our clients to everyone. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to me, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small business owners, and they've created a job for themselves.
Yeah.
And they start hating that job just like if they were working for somebody else. So it's not the place to be. So tell me how networking has played a part in what you've created.
Um, Networking has both helped me and hurt me.
Okay, good.
And hear me out. Uh, so when I started the business, I started 100% word of mouth. I
Mhm,
wasn't running ads for myself. I was doing SEO for my own asset, which does bring in business, but
mhm,
90% of my business was through networking and through
mhm,
serving my networks. When COVID
mhm,
happened and those physical networks shut down, my business got crushed.
mm,
In a lot of ways because I wasn't getting that referrals that were coming in or even having those networks that I can tend. Even at a virtual level compared to in person, networking has never been, for me at least, never as strong as it was in the beginning versus physical networking, which
mhm,
is okay. It's just, it is what it is. And that's one of the reasons why I know for Network Build Grow, you love doing hybrid events because you
mhm.
can't replace that physical touch. It's
You
so
can't.
amazing.
Yeah, it's great to be in the room with people, flesh to f I mean,
Absolutely.
flesh, in the flesh, yeah. Mhm,
Absolutely. And so when you're in business and you're looking for collaborations, you're looking for ways that you can do exchange or reciprocity of trying to give you referrals as you're giving me referrals as well. In a virtual world, it becomes more difficult because you're just not as real and you're
mhm,
not as tangible. And so I struggled with that after COVID. And we had some real life stuff going on in our house as well. We had to go into caregiving mode for several years too. So we've had a number of complications. But for someone who tries to be a relationship business and networking, the benefits are so massive once you are consistent and have those groups and do those things. It's wonderful and it's beautiful. However, if you break that, your network will not be as strong as it was before. And I've noticed that now a couple times, not just through COVID, but when I had to go into caregiving mode. And even like we're in North Carolina now, but we're originally from Maryland. And
mhm,
90% of my business that grew came from Maryland or connections there around there for the rest of the
mhm,
country and even around the world. We've had clients everywhere. But when we've been down in North Carolina for these last 3 years, 3.5 years, we're almost done again. We half a semester left for the last kid. Not having a base or not having network or not having grow that over these last 2 years, I've noticed it considerably, and it's hurt my business so bad, so
Yeah.
bad. So even having something imperfect and then not having it all, networking is massive. Networking is so massive. If anything else, the entrepreneur journey sucks to go in it alone. And networking
Yeah.
is community, and it's at the simplest form, which helps us be in a better place in general. So I'm a huge proponent of networking. I think it helps us find community, find solidarity. It helps us sharpen our saw as well, because
Oh,
the more conversations I have about my business during networking, the more that I'm more prime time and ready when I'm talking to a client as well, or a possible customer too. So
yeah.
there's so many benefits from networking. Not to mention even just finding a good friend, in
Yeah.
this journey. So I hope that answered your question. Maybe a little bit longer than what you
It,
expected.
no, it's great. And I completely agree with you. Networking is about getting referrals. It is about letting people know what you do, but it's also entrepreneurship can be lonely.
Mhm.
And, if you don't have friends around you if all your friends work a 9 to 5, like they don't get it. And so you need people around you that understand the struggles that you have, that understand the worries and the stress and the other different things. You have to market your own business. I mean, people that work a 9 to 5, they don't have to market their business. Right. So you need that community around you. And I love what you said about how when we go to networking events and we have to tell people what we do, not in a sales conversation, but just in a building a relationship conversation, it hones our own clarity. So then when we are in a sales conversation, we're more clear. We have stronger clarity around what we want to say.
Absolutely.
Uh, we've had a lot of these interviews and no one has ever mentioned that. And that's just brilliant. Brilliant. It was worth the time we were here today.
On a chilly February morning, here we are.
A chilly February morning here in the Carolinas. So tell me, when you go networking, I'm going to assume I already know the answer to this question, but you would say, if I asked you, is it quality or quantity of networking, which would you say?
It's both. It's both. They both
Okay.
have to exist in the room at the same time.
Okay.
And I didn't think about that for a long time. I would always say it's quality over quantity, but it's both. And here's the reason why. Um, we need to be able to practice. We need to be able to practice discernment. We need to be able to practice the understanding of whether this can be a relationship of reciprocity or a relationship of trust, or
Mhm.
you got to get that know, like, and trust. And then in person, you can see a lot of those things. Um, I think there's a format for meeting people at a very quick level just to get an introduction. But I also think that quality afterwards, where you have a one to one or you have something where you go deeper into that relationship, I think that has to also occur. So whether you do that in the very beginning, that could be okay as well. However, I've done deep networking, like rotating groups where we meet a whole bunch of people and we sit on that thing. And a lot of times, and you waste a whole amount of time, because if you're not vibing in the first 30 seconds, you're sitting there for the next 8 minutes, like, all right, this may not work out, but you sit in an open heart, you sit in an open space, and you're like, okay, maybe this will turn the corner. But sometimes, like, you just know, and when you've been doing this for a while, you kind of just have the understanding. So I think a little bit of both is okay. And I think even
Yeah.
when I go into a room, which might be your next question, and when you go into a room and what do you do? I always look for those people that are engaged, and I want to talk to them, but it doesn't mean I gravitate right to them right away. I will still meet the room and try to understand who the room is on there. And even
Mhm.
like the grumpy ones, I'll probably get attracted to them. It's like, hey, let me see if I can get a smile on someone's face, and just because
Yeah.
it's a challenge, right? But those people who are engaged, those are the ones that I'll have the follow-ups and the one-to-ones with afterwards. And those are the ones that I'll try to go deeper. I still will open it up to those people who are maybe a little more surface level and see if they'll meet you halfway. But a lot of
Mhm.
times it's not in good faith. It's sort of
Mhm.
like a checkbox to say, oh yeah, sure, I'll have a one-to-one, and you can kind of tell their heart's really not into it. So
Mhm.
I hope that it helps answer the question. I do think
It
it's a little bit
does.
of both, and
Yeah.
I think if we go just quality, I think we may close ourselves off to possibilities other ways. So it's kind of hard. You kind of have to let it unfold a little bit.
Yeah, you do. I like how you said you're sitting with somebody for maybe 5 to 8 minutes and you're hoping that the conversation will turn a corner to where
Mhm.
you can see this might be a beneficial relationship to build or not. And it's hard
Mhm.
to gauge that in the first time you meet them. So hopefully maybe you'll see them again, maybe at another event. Maybe then it'll turn a corner. I mean, everybody has a bad day, right? So they
Yeah.
might just be having a bad day. So you also have to give
And I
people a
don't want to
little
make
grace.
fun of a certain business sector, but you do know the business sectors where you walk into a room and they look at you and they look at you up and down right away, and they're like trying to gauge you on what's there. And those are the conversations I don't want to have. I want to know
Me
what's
too.
in here and in here for the person. I don't care what they
Mhm.
look like. I don't care what you're wearing. I don't care any of those kind of things at all, because there's just genius everywhere, and there's so many great people all over the place. Until you get that chance to
Mhm.
have the conversation, you just don't know. And you're right, when
Mhm.
you're having the conversation, it's just not going very well, and you're like, man, we're like oil and vinegar here, what is going on? You're just like, okay, let's find that commonality, let's find whatever that thing is, because there's a way we can still find emotional connection as something.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it doesn't mean, just for everyone to understand, the biggest thing about networking, it doesn't mean that I'm going to get something out of them. You never
Right.
know who knows someone else. You never know who in anything. And you don't know that by age. You don't know by that what they're dressed as. You don't know by anything
Mm-mm.
else. You just have to get in there and try it, right?
You just have to get in there. You just have to get in there and just, yeah, just talk, talk,
Yeah.
talk.
Be present,
Oh, wait,
right? Hold space.
be
That's all you
present.
got to do.
Absolutely. And it just drives me crazy when people go in with a transactional mindset
Yeah.
instead of just a relationship building mindset.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree. I
Okay.
agree
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
If you network for your business, you already know follow up is everything when it comes to growing relationships and driving success. But here's the thing most of us want to follow up well, we just get stuck. Staying consistent, keeping it personal, making it stand out, it's hard. That's why I use Net Effect IO. It makes follow up simple, cuts through all the noise, and helps me stay on top of every relationship without dropping the ball. I never miss a follow up, and honestly, my network wouldn't be the same without it. So check it out, neteffect.io. And right now, you can use promo code NBG50 for 50% off of your first month. Neteffect.io, your secret weapon to unforgettable follow up. Yes, let's do some rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to your mind. How do you start a conversation with people that you've never met at a networking event?
How are you doing today?
How are you doing today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll
Yeah.
introduce myself and then how are you doing today? If we're going into a conversation, I don't know the person. I want to know maybe what kind of baggage that person is going into the conversation. So I do want to know, how's your day going first. If their day is going amazing, then that's something that we can share and maybe we can find some commonality versus, if anything else, just sharing your success of what you've had for great today. If it's something that's not going great, then let's commiserate together and let's see if I can understand and empathize with what's going through you, but it gives me a baseline for what you're coming in the conversation with. So I love just doing a quick check-in. How's your day going?
That's wonderful. Okay, so now you're in this conversation where you're oil and vinegar, oil and water. It's not really jiving. You've got an open heart. You're trying. They seem a little closed off, whatever the situation is. How do you gracefully exit the conversation?
I just thank the person for their time and thank you. You exit the conversation, even if it's a great conversation or if it's bad. Always open the door. Leave the door open for the person to let something else come through, because you don't know if they're just having a bad day. You
Yeah.
might not be vibing with that person. It might be nothing else other than that person's animal, their pet at home is sick, but they
Hmm.
don't want to talk about it because they feel like weepy or something, and they just, whatever else. You don't know, even when you ask what's going on, you don't know what's being presented on there. So I always try to at least leave the door open and say, hey, if you ever want to chat again, I'll send you a summary and it has a link to my calendar. Just book. Don't even ask, just book. If you want to have another conversation, let's just chat again. And I do open that up for everyone, knowing that those who understand relationship building, they're the ones who will cross that threshold. And
Hmm.
those who don't and are more transactional will not. And what
Right.
I'll get is, I'll get an email from them 3 months from now that says, hey, we haven't talked in a while. And I know it's a canned response based on their CRM. So it's just, that's the difference. I end it the same way. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. How do you keep track of your follow-ups? Because follow-up obviously is a big part of networking and building relationships. How do you track that?
I have a CRM that
Hmm.
when I'm juggling too many things at once, I'll start leveraging the CRM because there's too much going on. But otherwise, I've been doing this long enough. I don't need to do that as much.
Hmm.
However, relationships within networks, um, I know I could do better on those. And my concern always is when we do follow-ups, how can I still do follow-ups in an authentic way and not
Hmm.
just do it as I put someone into a CRM marker and now my AI or something builds an email out to them to do a check-in on there. And granted, it's a great checkbox, but if energetically I'm not reaching out to that person,
Hmm.
if they respond back, I'm not going to be in the best place anyway, and the conversation is probably not going to go the best. So, just I think it works a little different for all of us. And
Hmm.
I, as a marketer, you want to tell people you should always have that CRM, always have that thing. But realistically, you need to understand what works for you with building client relations. You still need to get those touch points. Nothing
Hmm.
replaces those touch points and that top of mind awareness. You still
Hmm.
have to find ways to get those things, but
Hmm.
you have to find systems that work for each individual.
Yeah. We have a CRM, but it doesn't send anything to the people. It
Okay.
just reminds me and keeps my notes.
Oh,
So,
that's right.
yeah. So it'll say like, "Hey, you met Sage about 2 months ago. Have you talked to him?" You know? And then I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I haven't talked to him in a while." And then I can write that authentic email or make that phone call or send you a text. So it doesn't send anything out to the people. It just reminds me of things to do. That's how we make ours work a little bit for us cuz I actually got an email from a client of mine. So I had just had a session with her and I got an email the next day that said, "Haven't talked to you in a while. Just thought I would reach out."
It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
I was
like
like,
the instant
"Okay."
notifications. That's great.
Yeah, I was like, "That needs to be fixed." It's very funny. Yeah. Okay, last question, then I will let you go and do your thing. What is one way that you like to add value to someone you've had a couple of conversations with? You're building a relationship with them. You just want to kind of add some value to their life, just to kind of so that you stay top of mind when they might run across somebody that you could help.
I try to understand what they need, what's going on in their
Mhm.
life, and what's happening with them. When you talk to people in their business, they're typically there's pattern recognition. There's patterns all over the place as far as what they're going through in their business, whether it's a rebrand or trying to add some new services or whatever. We're always in churn at some point in our business. Based on however we're in churn, I usually offer to help where they are. So I'm let me get in the ditch with you and let's see what we can do together in that. So if they're trying to revamp their website, I was like, hey, when you finish with the copy, send it over to me and I will grade your copy, not only from a UX experience, which any AI can do that. I'll actually look at it from SEO signals or EEAT, and I'll give you what Google says about your content. And that's much different than anyone else can do. And it doesn't cost me a lot to do that. It's fairly quick to do that because I have the tools,
Mhm.
too many tools. But it does allow me to have touch points and be able to sort of help within that realm. If it's something where they're trying to evaluate networking solutions or they're trying to get out to different groups, okay, what about this group? Do you know about this group? What about that group? And we'll share notes on different groups on there. I love to do that kind of thing as well. I'm a firm believer that we all need to be master connectors, and
Yes.
none of us are. None of us are masters. We might be at a
Mhm.
certain moment in our life, but give it 10 minutes, and we're not a master anymore because we're not doing it. We're not exercising that muscle well enough. But to strive towards trying to find connections to, and I always say it's not the golden egg, but the golden goose connections. You want to try to find those that can be good referral partners, at least someone to help them in the world. And if it's not referrals, Melissa, what can I help you to give you someone that maybe you can at least share in lessons learned? Maybe it's someone
Mhm.
you can commiserate with or talk about for your networking series that you're doing because you're doing across hybrid and a whole bunch of things. I know other people that are doing this as well. Would it be a
Mhm.
benefit to maybe compare notes with those people? Or maybe you guys could even do a panel discussion or a cool podcast series around what it means to do hybrid events in 2026. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you'd be like, that's actually interesting.
Right.
It's something that maybe
Right.
I don't know. And so when we think about the realm of possibilities of what could be, if I can drop a seed into something that could be possibly great for someone in the future and see if they can nurture that, why not? Why wouldn't I?
Why not?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your busy, busy day, and I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is fun.
Sure.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Network Build Grow podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow entrepreneur or professional. And of course, if you're not yet part of our community, visit networkbuildgrow.com to connect with us. Until next time, keep building and keep growing.